Hey guys, D-Cell back in the Nerd Cave with my Halloween Kills spoiler review, I guess reaction. So again, there will be spoilers here, so if you haven't seen the movie, maybe you don't want to watch this. But boy man, this movie has really set the internet ablaze, right? And pun totally intended. Um, a lot of different opinions on this, a lot of heated opinions. As you can see from my thumbnail, I have my own opinion on this. Was this the worst Halloween movie? Absolutely not. There are a lot of good things about this movie, but I think some of the bad things might have outweighed it. Now, is it on the bottom of my ranking of Halloweens? No, I haven't done a ranking yet, but it's definitely not. But I came away from this movie kind of scratching my head a little bit. And it was right away. It was maybe even during the movie, and it usually takes me a day or two to kind of let it sink in, and I let that happen before I did this video. But yeah, listen. Again, spoilers. But at the end of the day, did I enjoy the movie? Yes. Were there a lot of issues? Yes. I don't know. Let's get into the pros, right? So the pros, of course, are the brutal kills, right? Ton of kills in this, and clearly, I guess they came up with a good title. Um, Very brutal, and I think you've seen that with Halloween 2018, where the kills on that were pretty brutal, and they were pretty brutal in like the Halloween Rob Zombie remakes. But this is a little different. This is almost more realistic. It's almost kind of hard to watch at some points. But that was, I think, one of the positives of the movie, the realistic nature of that, right? Another pro is really Michael Myers still doesn't really have any real motivation. There's really nothing there's nothing behind kind of what he's doing. Maybe there is, maybe some aspect of him kind of wanting to go back home. That was talked about a little bit in the movie, but again, he's not going after Jamie Lee Curtis specifically or Laurie Strode. If you're in his way, you're gonna get killed, and he will zero in on you. And that kind of goes along with the '78 movie, the '18 movie, and this one. So that's still, and that was probably the best part of 2018. Going back to this being a random, Laurie Strode just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, him zeroing in on her and her friends, and something very similar. Just kind of keeping with that, which is way more kind of frightening than you know, she's my sister, I have to kill her, Curse of Thorn, all that stuff. This is way more frightening because if you're in his way, you're dead. You're done. He catches you, and he just feels like killing you. He's like a shark, He's just gonna keep on going, killing machine. So that was another, pro of the movie. And also, James Jude Courtney really knocks it out of the park again, playing Michael Myers. He has the whole look just down pat. Just the way he walks, and the just everything about it. He's one of the best, probably, Michael Myers there is at this point. Something else I kind of liked about it, the flashback scenes to '78. And the CG for Loomis wasn't terrible. And I kind of like what they did with that. And I'm trying to think, there's also some cons to that, but we'll get to that later. The look of the movie, the way it was directed, the darkness, all that stuff. It was good. It's very similar to 2018 in the way it looked, the way it felt. Very similar tone, which I thought was good. Where it dropped off for me in the cons is, a lot of things that people are talking about already online on the message boards, and that would the message boards. Do people use message boards? Do I just mean Facebook? Um. Anyway, very political, and I know a lot of movies kind of do that. The whole mob mentality, um, not listening to reason kind of thing. that just there was way too much of that. There was a whole subplot that lasted way too long. Tommy Doyle kind of leading the charge. Anthony Michael Hall's acting wasn't the greatest. It came off kind of corny, I think, in a way. I'm glad Paul Rudd didn't do it. I don't know if he was asked to do it. I think that people were saying maybe he was asked to do it if he couldn't do it because of Ghostbusters. But I think it would have been terrible. But it just this the political. I think it was a little too political, a little too like on the nose with certain things, and it just lasted way too long. And it was just the fact that they thought so. Again, spoilers. The whole mob in the hospital going after this guy who is still wearing the hospital gown from um, the sanitarium, and he's a small guy, older, just you can tell issues. How is this guy going to be the same guy who just killed 11 firefighters in the beginning of the movie, right? It's not. It just doesn't make any sense. That aside, I get it. You're supposed to suspend reality, but it was just a little too much. And some of the cons again, some of the cons were also some of the pros, right? So the kills, the kills were a pro for me just because of the realism of it. Um, the fact that again another kid was killed. There was the three kids that were wearing the masks from part three, a little homage to part three. There was one that had a skeleton mask that was decapitated off screen. So kids are subject to the same wrath as anyone else in this. In just like in 2018 with the kid who loves to dance, he got his neck snapped, right? So they can be victims in this as well. So, but I feel like some of the kills were there just for shock value. I mentioned the 11 firefighters, and that's a whole other issue. People thinking, oh, how dare he? How can he kill first responders? I mean, come on. But regardless of that, he's not Jason. See, that's a whole other thing. Michael Myers is not Jason. The thing with Michael Myers is that he's the boogeyman, right? He hides in the shadows. Sometimes he hides in plain sight, and you're not expecting it. Most of the other movies, he will zero in on someone and gets them, and they don't even know it's coming. Here, he comes out of the fire. He comes out of the fire, and he slaughters 11 firefighters, all who have some sort of weapon, an axe, some saws, crowbars, whatever, and just expertly kills them. And he's not John Wick. I mean, he's not. I can see that happening in a Jason movie. In a Friday the 13th movie, where he kills a room full of people. He's a zombie. He's got supernatural type abilities. Michael Myers in this timeline is a man, and they've made him to be like Mike, like a Jason. It just bothers me. And I get it. You're supposed to suspend reality here, but later in the movie, when he gets shot point blank in the chest like 4 times, blood going everywhere, gets stabbed in the neck, and then he gets up and proceeds to kill everyone that was attacking him. I mean, it just does not make sense. And I get it. Like, if things were to make sense in a horror movie, then they wouldn't last that long, right? Just why didn't you call 911 quicker? Why did Laurie Strode's daughter? Why did she just like walk away from the whole thing and go back to her house at the end of the movie and just sit in front of the house and in front of the Myers house? I mean, there were so many cops in front of the Myers house. Why didn't she say, "Hey, Michael Myers is down the block, getting his ass beat. Police, you may want to go there." No, instead she left the mob there, who ended up getting slaughtered. Tommy Doyle. It just didn't make sense. And I get it. These are horror movies. Maybe it's not supposed to make sense. And if this was one of the other timelines where he was some sort of supernatural entity, sort of, I guess, with the Curse of Thorn, I guess you can say he was, right? Then it might make a little more sense. But that's not the case. You got a 60-year-old guy who just totally decimated 14, 15 people with weapons. it just does not seem realistic. It was just too much. I mean, the concept was good for the movie, but they just kind of threw too much at it, too much shock value. Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, she's. Let's go back to this. I'm jumping all over the place. Guys, I don't really prepare. This is just a stream of thought. Jamie Lee Curtis. She's stuck in a hospital the entire movie, and part of it maybe is that an homage to Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2. I don't know. I was happy to see that the cop from the first movie. I'm forgetting names already. Who you thought was stabbed to death by the doctor he's survived, right? And he's in some flashbacks. And again, going back to pros that are now cons, I don't understand the whole subplot with how he ended up killing his partner in the past when, in 1978, when he tried to shoot Michael, ended up shooting his partner in the throat, and then they covered it up. Why? I mean, why? I don't understand it. It didn't really do anything for the plot. I mean, I think him stopping Loomis from shooting Michael was enough to make him feel like there was regret. But the whole shooting the partner, I don't know what that added to the story. And I don't know if that's something they're going to pick up in the third one. And the ending was just, and again, with Laurie Strode's daughter, and again, I'm terrible with names, where she just kind of, she wants to be with her daughter the entire time. She finally gets back with her daughter, and then she decides to just randomly walk up the stairs of a crime scene to look out of a window that they kind of talk about a lot in the movie, and I'll get to that in a second. And then Michael pops up behind her, stabs the shit out of her, and then she falls. And is she dead? I'm assuming she's dead. She's laying on the ground. I think her eyes are open. I think she's dead. Or is she gonna be alive later, like the cop was from 2018? I don't know. And then he's looking out the window, and that's how it ends. It just doesn't make sense. A lot of things don't make sense, and I guess I keep going back to, are they supposed to make sense? It's a horror movie, but this isn't a Jason movie. This isn't a Freddy movie. This is a Michael Myers movie where they've redone it to ground it in reality. And it just doesn't, Michael Myers kills people because they're not expecting it. There's never been, other than part 4, where at the end you got a bunch of rednecks coming after him in pickup trucks and shotguns. Sure, I get it. There's a little bit of a mob kind of mentality there, 5-6 guys going to get Michael. Literally, Tommy Doyle goes to the entire town, randomly grabbing people. Evil will die tonight. I think that's the line, right? Or something like that. And it's just not believable. It's just not believable. I like the idea of Lindsay and Tommy still being friends and doing this ritual every year. I like that. Not sure why the nurse is there from the first movie, because she didn't really have much to do until the second movie, which doesn't exist in this timeline, right? So you have Halloween 1, where really all she does is she's in the car with Loomis. Michael attacks her, and then she gets thrown out of the car and then drives to Haddonfield. And that's really it. She shows up in part 2 to get Loomis to go back to the sanitarium, right? And Smith's Grove, right? And that's it. And then she goes into the hospital, and then she's there, right? And then you see her again in H2O, where she gets killed, right? And talking with Jimmy about this, that was a much better death scene. Where here she's just hanging out with Tommy Doyle and Lindsay, who she had zero interaction with or would have any interaction with. I don't even think she was in Haddonfield in part 1 at all. So it just doesn't make any sense to me that she has this connection to them. She's thrown in there for shock value for when she gets killed, which is a brutal kill. She's barely in it. Lindsay survives, right? Maybe just to kill her in the third one. I don't know. I'm assuming Tommy's dead. It looks like he is. It's just there for shock value. I hate it when people who survive one movie die in the sequel, and this just seems like they're doing it for, like, again, for shock. Um, and one last thing before this becomes a total nerd rant. I know we're 15 minutes in. Again, and by the way, I hope you like my setup here. Just my 2018 mask signed by James Jude Courtney and Nick Castle, and then I have my Elrod mask to the right, signed by a number of cast members from different Michael Myers from across different movies. So, and then of course my Halloween 2018 steel book signed by James Jude Courtney. But did I like it? No, I didn't like it. It Too much of this stuff just bothers me. It seemed like lazy writing. Um, a lot of that should have been taken out. I want to say that this couple things. Two last points. One, this was the Iron Man 2 of the new Halloween trilogy, right? I feel like they're setting things up for the third one. And trust me, I like Iron Man 2. I never agreed with the whole Iron Man 2 just being kind of like a setup to the Avengers. I feel like this is what this movie is. This is a setup to Halloween Ends. And it leaves you with more questions, and maybe that's the whole point. It's just I don't know what the plot's going to be. Like, where do we go from here, right? You have Jamie Lee Curtis, and I think I heard that the next one is set a couple years later. So it just, I just don't know what the plot is going to be. I like that this one started the same night. It literally, it's still Halloween. It's the same night. I would hope that the third one is the same thing, but I don't know. Does he go into hiding? I have no idea. And another thing about the flashbacks, I like the flashbacks because the look was perfect. The mask was perfect. I think it was a different actor that played the younger Michael Myers, and his movements were perfect. It was just cool to see that, right? What I think they're starting to do, and they need to be careful because I think it's a slippery slope. I think they're trying to explain why Michael is the way he is, right? So the good thing about 2018 is that it took some good and some bad, right? 2018 erases everything except for 78. We all know this. And the reason being is that although I love Halloween 2, it actually might be my favorite of the franchise, the original Halloween 2. But I like that they took the sister angle out, and this is just just random psychopath, and don't get it in his way, right? He'll bump into one person, not kill them. He'll randomly see someone from his, from the corner, of his view, and then make a beeline to kill them, right? You just never know. And I like that about this timeline. But they're starting to explain things that probably don't need to be explained. In one of the flashbacks of Hawkins, that's it. Deputy Hawkins. One of the flashbacks was where his partner, who he killed by accident, right? Explains that he grew up with Michael Myers, and his mother forced him to play with Michael Myers, and how he said that whenever he was at Michael Myers' house, he would just stare out the window. He was a weird. Clearly, they're setting up to make him a weird kid who was quiet, maybe, and whenever they played with him, he was just staring out of his sister's window, right? I think that's a slippery slope. You don't want to start to explain things because then you start going down the Rob Zombie, road. Where, listen, and I don't hate the zombie films. I really don't. I kind of like what they did with it. But I know you don't want to over-explain it. He just took the whole sister thing. He went with the whole, sociopath and went for it, and that was his vision. Here, they make a little bit of a joke, I think, to explain that this is not going to be the same thing by saying, "Oh, did he rip wings off of butterflies or stuff like that?" And the answer was no. He was just a weird kid. I don't know if they're going to go down some tangent with that, or some explanation of why he is who he is. Is that going to be in the third film with Halloween Ends? Was that just a way to set up the ending where he goes back to his sister's room in the Myers house and stares out the window? I don't know. I'm hoping that they're not going to try to do this whole explanation of why he is what he is. They went down that road in the original timeline. The Rob Zombie really did that. I don't think it needs to be done, but I don't know what else you can do with this franchise. And I don't know how this fucker's still alive. Shot 4 or 5 times in the chest, shot multiple times throughout the movie, getting stabbed several times, getting stabbed in the neck. I mean, listen, if you want to do that, then make him some sort of supernatural being. Again, I know it's a horror movie, suspend belief, but it's just, you can only do that for so much before it just becomes ridiculous. And unfortunately, I think we're going down that road of this just being a little bit ridiculous. So let me go through the pros again, right? Pros: brutal kills, no motivation, James Jude Courtney, flashbacks, the whole look of the movie. Okay, did all of that. Cons, again, a little bit of too political, a little on the nose. The stupidity, I didn't mention that. Just the stupidity of the characters. And every character in these movies are kind of stupid, but it's because they're caught off guard. Here, they actually have an entire town, I think I touched on this, an entire town chasing Michael Myers. Making the entire town one just mob to go after him. And it just, people who aren't equipped to do it, people just grabbing random stuff like the doctor and the nurse and that other couple from the bar. It's like, oh, it's gonna be fun. Let's go chase this madman and this killer, and it's gonna be fun. Let's do it. And then they get killed horribly. It just doesn't make sense. And that would never actually ever happen. And then Laurie Strode's granddaughter just jumping in with her boyfriend and her boyfriend's father, and then they realize, wait a minute, you know, um, when I was a kid, I saw Michael Myers, and he returned back to his house, and that's where he's gonna be. And guess what? That's where he was. Well, how about you go to the cops and say, hey, wait a minute, have you checked his house? And why didn't the cops check the house? Why wouldn't that be the first place they friggin' checked? It just doesn't make sense. And then Lonnie goes in, and in 2 seconds they hear a shot, and then two 17-year-old kids just run in to try to kill Michael Myers. And then the boyfriend gets brutally killed. It's just what are your thoughts on like what's going through your head? Why would that even be an option? And again, these other movies where kids, are getting killed, it's because they're hiding from Michael Myers. They're trying to get away from Michael Myers. They're locked in a house with Michael Myers. They didn't know it. In part four, he's stalking people. They don't know he's there until it's too late. Here, they're inviting it. They want to find him. They want to get, and then they're just asking to get killed. Oh my god, it just doesn't make sense. Yeah, I really wanted to like this movie. I was so excited for this movie. I really, really wanted to like it. There are some things I thought were cool. I'm really debating on even buying it when it comes out. That's how upsetting this is for me. I mean, I'm going to clearly look around in front of you. I mean, I have that steel book. I'm gonna have to get the next one, which kind of looks cool, by the way. I think Best Buy. I think if you look at Dawn of the Discs, they released what the artwork looks like. But let me know, guys, in the comments below what you think about the movie. This is very controversial, I know. Hopefully, I'm not pissing people off. Hopefully, and listen, some of it I liked. Maybe I'll rethink it. Maybe I'll go back on Peacock and watch it again and see if I change my mind. But Tommy Doyle turned out to be a doofus in a sweater, and it's it just didn't make any sense to me. The best thing out of the movie, Jamie Lee Curtis was underutilized. The best thing about this movie was just James Jude Courtney again. He is Michael Myers now. And I just dropped something. But again, I'm ranting. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think about the movie? Hopefully you liked it. And listen, if you liked that movie, great. Tell me why you liked it. I'm not saying you're wrong, right? I'm not saying you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. You liked it. That's great. There are aspects of it that I liked, but overall I did not. And that's fine too. I mean, that's why everyone has opinions, right? I'm not mad at you if you like the movie. I wish I did. So let me know in the comments, guys. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? If you disagree with me, If you've made it to 24 minutes and 52 seconds, let me know. I would love to have a dialogue about it. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time in the Nerd Cave.